What's up, sweaties? It's an extra sweaty episode of Heroes 107. I'm Jon Schnepp. Welcome to another live episode. That's right. Guess who's with me today? Right over here, we got Robert Meyer Burnett.
Hello there. Hello to you, sir.
Hello
How
to
are you, Jeremy?
I've never been better, my friend. How are you?
Hang on a second.
I'm
Do
good.
I sense some kind of strange rivalry between
not
these
at all,
two?
Not at all, because he said I have a fantastic head of hair. That puts you on my good graces. I won't destroy you too badly.
Destroy me!
That's right.
Oh,
Going
sorry.
down like
Hang
the
on,
Titanic.
Hold on. It's Heroes, right?
Yes,
It's
that's
Heroes.
right. We're nice.
Hank, put that other personality in the pocket. Guys, if you haven't been watching, it's this thing that Harloff has been doing. Sometimes I'm on it, sometimes I'm not. You got to check it out. It's called Movie Trivia Schmodown. I know you sweaties, it's like, you know, you're like me. It's like, whatever, man.
We were on
but,
it.
Yeah,
we were on it
we're
the last
on it.
time we were on it.
We did win.
Team Heroes.
Yeah. I don't want to brag too much, but we destroyed. We watched Trek destroy themselves with the wheel. It was kind of fun to just watch them make themselves lose.
You know, that's what people think, that that we got lucky.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Well, they're sore losers. I was just more like, hey, man, I'm sorry the wheel destroyed you, you know? This is one of those things.
They didn't
where
even
like,
get to
there's
answer
not
a
really-
5-point question.
Yeah, romance is not a strength among the Trek team, but who knows if we got it? Probably we would have lost. That's how it rocks with the wheel. So check it out. These two sweaties right here are going against each other for the Inner Geekdom Championship. That's right.
It's true.
It is true.
It
Well,
is.
you're not wrong
Yeah.
at all.
You're not wrong.
And wait, let me just egg it on a little bit more here because I read about this
Right.
and then I was like, I was checking in with these guys. Is this true? You guys are both going to put up a Hot Toys figure and then the loser has to give that Hot Toys figure to the winner.
That is true. I have bet Jeremy Jahns a hot toy figure. I hear that I offered him a die-cast Iron Man 3 figure that's worth about $350.
Right.
But I've heard from you that you're not interested in that figure. There's another figure you might prefer.
Well, yeah. I mean, I see on Twitter you're like a die-cast Iron Man 3. I was like, oh, well, if it's from Iron Man 3, and so
Ooh.
I hear that you have the T-1000 now
I do.
from Terminator 2.
I do.
That's way better. Just way more interesting, and it would go wonderfully on my shelf.
But Jeremy, what are you going to throw in if he's going to throw in that?
A high five, and he'll thank me for the opportunity.
Listen to this. He wants to take one figure off of me, but he's not willing to put up one.
You gotta
got to
put up a
Okay,
figure.
you're right. I have a wonderful. What do you want that I have?
I don't know. Do you have
see.
the Iron Man Starburst armor? The
No.
space armor? No,
The
I
only
don't think
Iron
so.
Man armor I have is Civil War. I look at
See,
all my
no, I
stuff,
have
and
that.
I'm like, all of it's better.
This is going off the rails.
This
We
is
gotta-
Hold
going
on a
to
second.
check
It
on
just got so sweaty. I was like, do you have this Starburst? What are you talking about, Starburst chewables? What the hell are you guys talking about? They've got like 400 Iron Man statues in their
Actually, you know what?
closet.
I
What's
just
going
got really
on?
serious. I just thought, like, what do I want?
Well,
Okay,
yeah.
this is
Yeah,
Heroes.
this
You've
is
got-
this is going to go on for a while. We'll tweet about
You're
it.
still
Right.
going to be destroyed.
That's right.
Titanic meet iceberg.
Well, you guys, check it out. What day is that happening? We
no
don't know.
idea.
It's in the future
It's
at some
in the
point.
future. In the
And I'm not in
future.
charge of the Schmodown thing. Just watch it. Go online. Figure it out. You're going to watch it. And we'll tweet about it when it happens. Whoever wins or loses, they're both heroes in my book. So
Yeah, but we get. That's not true because if you win, I'm going to destroy Hector Navarro.
that's right.
A lot of villainous laughs here today.
That's true. Well, you know what? You know what's not villainous? It's the Inhumans poster. It's not even on our sidebar. Just popped up today. Check out this flavor. That's right.
pretty cool.
The Inhumans. There's a giant black bolts, cool insignia, chest insignia, floating high above the earth like some kind of bizarre satellite. We don't know what the Inhumans is really going to be like. We know they've been shooting it with a giant blue stand-in for Lockjaw. But the first 2 episodes are actually going to show up in IMAX on the big screen. So, you know what? I bet those first 2 episodes are going to be fantastic. What do you guys think about the Inhumans poster? Any thoughts, David? Oh, you know what? David Griffin. We got so sweaty about this Schmodown thing. I didn't introduce my pal right here, David Griffin. Thanks for being on
Hey,
the
you know
show.
what's happening? It was a little weird when I walked in. I felt a little out of place because, Jeremy and Robert Meyer Burnett talking about area codes, Pacific Northwest, hot toys. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sweaty enough for this yet. I don't know. I got to get a little more sweaty.
We can talk golf though.
I can talk golf. I can talk some golf.
All right, well, I'm not
Yeah.
talking any.
And the
any
beard's back.
golf.
The
The
beard
beard
is
is
back.
slowly coming back. I'm trying to get less dislikes on the video.
Right
So,
on.
but back to Inhumans, I'm just excited that they're making this whole thing in a big event. I don't know if this TV show is going to be any good. I kind of fell out of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I'm excited that we're going to go to IMAX Theater,
Right.
watch a couple episodes there. That's pretty cool. The only time I've ever really had that experience was for Game of Thrones, and that was just re-airing what had
Right.
already been aired. They did the 9th and 10th episodes a few seasons back, so it's going to be really exciting to see Inhumans on the
But
big screen.
Game of Thrones on the big screen was incredible.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was amazing in IMAX. I remember saw it here right at Universal City Walk. It was
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
So, what do you think, Jeremy?
I think the poster's great. Anytime you can have a teaser poster that's just subtle, it gives you a tone, it gives you a symbol or something like, oh, there you go. I like teaser posters like that. I actually grew to love the teaser posters more than final posters. The teaser posters, in my opinion, generally speaking, they're just more clever, and I like that. As for it being on IMAX, I agree. It would be so great if it felt like a movie, and then you springboard onto the small screen for the rest of it. That's the thing that I'm concerned about, is it's going to feel like a TV show on the big screen. But if it can feel like a cinematic experience, I think that might be a new thing we'll see a lot more of if it works.
Well, they got to step up on their DP game if they're
Right.
going to make it feel like a cinematic experience. The one fallback with a lot of television is because of the production schedule. They're like close up, close up, close up, medium, close up. And it's like when you watch TV next time, remember you're watching it on a smaller screen in your living room. If you saw that blown up, it takes away some of the epic quality when it's just like close-ups of like, well, what do you think, Bob? I don't know. Let's check in with Harry. Hi, I'm Harry. You know, it's like everybody's a close-up. Robert, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it promises an epic feel. I mean, I'm really excited that we're going to get yet one more science fiction series that takes place in space before we get Star Trek Discovery, which might never show up.
Well, it'll probably be the 53rd anniversary.
Did you
of
hear
Star
they just
Trek.
like changed somebody's identity around?
Yeah,
like
he
somebody-
was a Klingon.
He was a
but now
Klingon.
he's a Starfleet
Now
officer.
he's a Starfleet officer,
'Cause
yeah.
that really shows leadership, and I'm like, whoa. But then American Gods, you see that? Brian
it's
Fuller went from Star Trek to American Gods, and we're all the
It's
better
incredible.
for it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely tune into American Gods. I have not seen the episode yet. I cannot wait. Everybody's talking about it. I love the trailers. Did you see it without talking about it, with no spoilers, so I don't get spoiled? Don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it. What are your thoughts? We're going to jump right into something else that's not on the sidebar. What's up? American Gods. What are your thoughts? You guys saw it.
I loved it. I've actually seen the first 4 episodes.
Oh, wow,
I went
okay.
way ahead. It's incredibly shot. It's a world that I don't know if I've ever seen on TV yet. You know, it's got the fantastical elements, of course, you know, with these like new gods coming into power, you know, with these old gods fighting for their relevance in the world. And it's so well done. Ian McShane's just brilliant. He's one of the best character actors out there. I mean, of course, you know him from Deadwood and everything, but anything he's in, he's great. Ricky Whittle is a newcomer, was in CW's The 100, is starring in this now as Moonshadow, and he's awesome as well.
Nice, Robert.
Well, what I loved about it was it captured what Neil Gaiman does best. How he can set, in the real world, he can take these completely unreal characters, such as the old and the new gods. I mean, the god of technology is great, and I went to an event. Brian Fuller actually took me to an event, got me into an event, and I saw Crispin Glover there, and he plays, I guess, a character that has yet to be introduced. But he's the god of the world.
Wow.
It made me. I said to Brian, I go, this is interesting. I said, Brian, I got one word for you: Sandman.
Right.
And then, of course, there's a news thing coming out that they might do Sandman.
They're pushing really hard for Sandman. Remember, we've been on Heroes, been talking about Sandman deserves to be on television. It should be as a miniseries. Every episode, every comic book should be an episode. You got 75 right there, and then a lot of the extra death episodes or comic books. I mean, I refer to comic books as episodes because that's what they are now to me. They're literally, this episode of this comic. It's sort of, they are episodic in nature. Jeremy, did you get a chance to watch American Gods?
I didn't, but I had a couple things to springboard off of. I was
Yeah.
like, if no one mentions Sandman, then I'm going to say, hey, if this works, then we're going to see Sandman. How many times on Awesome Tacular's a comic book shoot have you and I off camera been like, so Sandman,
Yeah.
I think they should do it like this. We just totally, we
Yeah.
go nuts and talk about it for a really long time.
I think we're going to be hearing announcements about Sandman,
Oh,
the
yeah.
mini-series, limited series, or extendo version, 7 series, like 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Very soon. Let's get into topic number 1. That's right, Guardians of the Galaxy. It looks like we're going to get a very different Guardians of the Galaxy with number 4 already being announced, with James Gunn talking about not only is he going to be writing and directing the 3rd Guardians movie, this is before the 2nd one, Volume 2, even comes out, but he's talking about a 4th Guardians film, one that's going to feature a completely different team. Now, what team is that going to be? Is it going to be Nova? Is it going to be Warlock? Is it going to be Starhawk? Is it going to be all of them? Who do you think is going to be part of the new Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4, or are they just going to call it Guardians 3000? Are they going to? What do you think? Are they going to keep the title? Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
Marvel. Let's bring someone
Yes.
who's just for the play on words alone.
Yes.
But the fact that James Gunn's doing 4 of these, that kind of concerns me. I feel like the studio's like locking him down, and I'm sure he has no qualms about the money for sure. But
Right.
staying on for 4 movies, writing and directing 4 movies, I've seen a lot of times. There's an exception to this rule, but the rule is by that time, whoever's doing it's kind of lost a lot of the ambition, lost a lot of the passion, and you start seeing it on the screen. Not saying he can't do it. I'm saying it's now a fear that I have. I don't want him to do that. I want whoever is super passionate about the project and the property to go forth with it. But I mean, who we're gonna see, dude? 4 movies down the road, we might have a different timeline, a different universe at that point. Who knows? Because I feel like that's like 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, you know what I think? I mean, I don't think Gunn is going to do the 4th film. I think he's obviously going to write and direct the 3rd film. That's part of his Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. He's going to keep on in the Marvel universe. I think he's going to do Nova.
Okay. You think
Because
so?
he's a big fan. He's a sweaty 70s comic book fan.
Standalone Nova.
Standalone Nova. He's a sweaty comic book fan. That's, I mean, the way I look at it is that whenever I've heard him talk about any of these stuff, you know, Robert.
Yeah.
He's into ROM. He's into stuff that came out in the late 70s,
Stuff that a lot of
early
people don't
80s.
know.
Yeah, you're like, you know, people are like, what is ROM? You mean CD-ROM? You mean the ROM? No. ROM, the Space Knight. What's up?
From Galador,
That's right. What are
who
you
fought the Dire Wraiths.
Well, they keep talking about different, this new iteration of characters that we're going to get in the 4th film, but that always makes you wonder, like, contracts can change. You know, what if they want to keep these guys on from the? Remember when all talk about Chris Evans? Only he has so many films left in his deal.
Right.
When he's done, he wants to direct and do different films. But it's like, oh no, I want to do more now. He just came out and said that a few months ago. So I wonder if that's going to happen with Guardians. I mean, if these actors are like, hey, we want to stick around. I know it's going to cost a lot more to sign them to a 4th film, but if they want to stick around, I don't think there's going to boot all the actors out, and I don't think they're going to kill them off, even if we're in a different universe. So we could see a similar team like this, maybe with a few added characters, maybe like a Nova or something like that, but maybe they'll stick around. Maybe they'll have a change of heart like Chris Evans, be like, hey, this is a pretty good paying gig. I like what I'm doing. Why not keep doing it?
Robert?
Well, I like all the areas that they could go to. I mean, with Thanos being in the Infinity War, I mean, if you read the Nova, like the Conquest series, the Andy Labnett,
Yeah, Andy Labnett.
and all of that stuff, that was all very cool.
Did he do Annihilation as well?
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff, and the Adam Warlock stuff, Marvel. I mean, there's so many great. If Guardians can spin off into that realm, you could do a whole series of movies based on these characters, and they all sort of have a connection to Thanos. I mean, who knows where they could go? It'd be great.
I think that Avengers is not going to be Infinity Gauntlet. It's going to be Avengers Annihilation. I think they are going to open the entire cosmic universe. Thanos is just the crack that opens up the entire universe for the 4th film. So I think we're going to see like Bizarro Splinter Worlds. We're going to see Red Skull cackling with a cosmic cube. It's going to be freaky and awesome, and everyone's minds are going to explode.
That's interesting. Avengers Annihilation. I mean, if I had to guess, it was either going to be that or Avengers Disassembled or maybe Secret Wars, and they'll bring the Beyonder in.
You know why I don't think it's going to be Secret Wars? Because the title would be like Infinity Wars, Secret Wars, and be like, how many wars? I mean, Star Wars, that's a title, and it doesn't even sound like, if you
Avengers
just think about it.
Annihilation, I do
weird
like
title.
that.
It's like, Star Wars. It's a weird when you break the words apart and put them back together. But now it's just, Star Wars. But if you thought about it, what are you going to go see? Space Wars? Yes, Space Wars version 7, Return of the Gimlock, whatever. Hey, let's move on. Wonder Woman, 4th trailer has landed. A brand new Wonder Woman popped up online last night. This one's talking about Diana's mysterious past. She says she has no father. She's conceived by Zeus. That's right. She's been, conceived by a god. Maybe did all of the Amazons? Are they all right out of Zeus? He likes to get busy, obviously. We get some new flavory action bits, too, but it's really a compendium of all these other scenes that we've seen from Wonder Woman. I thought it's a great trailer. I can't wait for this movie to just get here already. I want to see it. What are your thoughts?
I love all the footage we've seen so far. I mean, they released 3 new TV spots recently, and then they add on this trailer, just kind of more of the same. But it looks great. It looks like it has that Captain America feel, even though it's World War I and not World War II, but it still has the same look, same color. I just want to see this. I'm excited to see Diana, and Chris Pine, go at it. I mean, with their banter is going to be a lot of fun. The action sequences look incredible. I'm hoping this is the first DC film where critics and fans can unite together as one and celebrate and be like, we are happy that this was made.
You're so
there is a
sweet.
future. Yeah, I hope that happens, because I really want to go to a DC film and just love it. You know, I love parts of Batman v Superman. You know, I actually really enjoyed Man of Steel, but I haven't had that, I don't know, that fire inside of me that I felt when I first saw Avengers. I haven't had that spark. And I'm hoping that Wonder Woman is going to be that spark for me.
I want the all spark, like the fire that I had when I saw Transformers. Not ever. Robert,
You know, I like Transformers 1 and 3.
I'm not going to hate you.
I
For
like
that.
one. I like the
I
first
like
one.
one too.
Just-
Yeah,
Okay,
one was
it-
good.
It gets a little
The
incoherent.
third one
at
is
that
good because they're in Chicago destroying stuff, and Leonard Nimoy basically plays a version of Spock as a robot and even says lines from Spock.
Yeah, I know.
The two for the one must be the fun. You know, like, wasn't that in Star Trek: Wrath of Khan? Anyway,
But no,
what do you
look,
think?
I'm really looking forward to Wonder Woman. I hope it's good. I've heard people have said mixed things to me, which is interesting. Like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
Like, I think people's expectations for these movies now have to be tempered.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea of Wonder Woman being in World War I and seeing Themyscira and all that, her home world, and
Totally.
seeing this mythology brought to life that I've literally, since I was a kid, watching her fly around in the Super Friends in her invisible jet. I want to see that. I don't need some gigantic epic battle at the end, although I'm sure we're going to get one. But I really like these characters, the way they're bringing these characters to life, and I like the interplay that we're seeing with her group of friends,
Yeah.
with Steve Trevor and his wacky bunch of ne'er-do-wells in jolly old London that she says is horrible.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to it. I hope they spend a lot of time letting us get to know her as a character.
Right.
Because I loved her in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, and she was in it for like 3 seconds.
And
I mean,
she was great.
we want more of Wonder Woman. Jeremy?
Yeah, I was a big Gal Gadot naysayer. And then I saw her in Batman vs. Superman. I was like, okay, all right. Well, for the 3 seconds she was in, she completely stole the show from Batman and Superman. So that's no small feat. I'm with David Griffin. Like, I want this to be the movie that unites everyone. Maybe that's just very idealistic. Probably is in this internet day and age, but we'll see what happens. This new trailer didn't show anything I hadn't already seen. However, I think that's a good thing, because what's worse, a trailer that shows too much or a trailer that shows too little? I like too little, and the fact that they're showing not so much, the fact that they're not showing a lot shows that they're trying to hide something, which means the movie's probably going to have revelation and intrigue. I mean, this is the DC universe with Greek mythology.
Right.
This could be one of the coolest things we see. She's straight up taking on the gods.
Right.
And I think, yeah, you're right, though. How many are Zeus's kids? In the Brian Azzarello Wonder Woman, there was another one that she had to take on, another one of Zeus's kids. That dude got busy. That's what crumbled Mount Olympus, is all the child support payments Zeus has to pay.
let's
Bankrupted the entire thing.
Let's get into a little theory. All right, so Zeus.
Yes.
It's a god. We know that Justice League is going to introduce the new gods. We're going to see Apocalypse. We're going to see parademons. We are going to see gods and villains and monsters from outer space. Superman is from outer space. Superman is an alien from another planet. Are we going to be seeing the seeds of the ideas of what, just the way Thor introduced the idea of gods, and they're like, no, we're just hanging out, we're drinking beer. What you think is magic is science to us. Is DC basically inverting that and basically using that way of explaining the idea of Zeus, i.e., he could actually be the All-Father on the New Gods planet? They could combine these characters. I've always thought they looked very similar with the big red beards and stuff. I see that as being a high possibility. It makes total sense, especially when you have a DC cinematic shared universe. You have to tie these things in together with someone like Wonder Woman saying, you know, it's like Anakin. I have no father. You know, it's like this weird kind of mythic birth. It's like, with the Justice League and Superman also being very much of a Christ-like figure, I think they're going to tie some of these things in together. What are you guys' thoughts? Anybody?
Yeah, it's funny. That was actually a really good breakdown. I hadn't thought of it until you just said it. Now I have to hypothesize information I got a second ago. Here we go. It's completely possible, because we see that in comic book movies all the time, where the universe itself in the comic books is enormous, and you can't incorporate everything. So a lot of times they'll just kind of fuse things together. Sometimes it's well received, sometimes it's not, but it's all about execution. If they can do it right, I think that would be really cool. Two birds with one stone kind of thing. It's like, all right, now we have two stories that are linked together, makes it a little more personal for the characters. So I say go for it, but if they can do it right.
Also brings in those 3 mysterious mother boxes. One's in Atlantis, one's on Themyscira, and one's on Earth. Obviously, Cyborg gets it. What are your thoughts, David?
Well, I think embracing that whole God concept is fascinating. I mean, the whole when you start saying things like American gods, you start bringing gods into it, it becomes this huge thing. Marvel, they kind of stray away from that a little bit. They have cosmic beings,
Right.
but they don't really go quote unquote gods. I mean, I know Thor's a demigod basically. They don't embrace that new god and like the old gods like Zeus. So the fact that we're going to bring these characters to Earth, they do like American gods, make them characters trying to survive in this world that doesn't really believe in them anymore, except for these fringe groups like people on Themyscira. That would be really interesting to see. I think that'd be fascinating if they kind of merge like that American god style into the movies.
No, I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was
Because
going
the
to
Brian Azzarello, they do that. Isn't the one guy have like a Hawaiian shirt on? The lava, what was he? I forgot.
Yeah, they looked very human.
Yeah,
they
very human.
Very,
yeah.
very human. Except for Death, who looked. He had like a candle cake for a head.
That was it.
know?
Yeah.
But I mean, the rest of them looked. They were in suits. You
Yeah.
know, like Hilo was in suits. But it is embracing what they are, because I mean, you look at the Marvel world. It's people who have these powers and people who make decisions. If you look at the cinematic universe alone, it's people make decisions and people are caught in the middle of it. But DC's always been gods, and if they embrace the injustice gods among us, you know, it's like if they embrace the god role, then the Earth is caught in this cosmic war that's going to be split in half. Because these things have a grudge, and we're all down here like, what? What do you do? You know? Yeah, right. So I mean, it is interesting that they're committing one way, and if they
Right.
commit that way, it's a way Marvel doesn't do, and I think that's really neat to have both.
Now, Robert, before we go to you, I was going to say jumping off what you said, I've often compared Marvel and DC by saying Marvel is a story about mutants, mutation, humans turning into monsters. I mean, with the Fantastic Four, with the birth of the Marvel universe, the comic book universe, it was birthed by challengers of the unknown and Monsters Unleashed, and Stan Lee was like, why don't we turn these monsters into a super team like the Human Torch and the Invisible Woman, and I'm not doing my Stan Lee impersonation, Excelsior. So so Marvel is like mutants, people turning into the mutation, and DC is exactly what you said, the gods, the Greek gods. It's about the gods of the earth. So I mean, outside of Batman, everybody's a weird god. So Robert, what are your thoughts?
Well, we know from Man of Steel that in the DC cinematic universe, the Kryptonians visited Earth 20,000 years ago. There was that ship, which could have put them at the time. The ancient Greeks were already here. I like the idea that these spacefaring races that even might have what we would consider to be godlike people. It doesn't interfere with the idea that perhaps there's the one true God that's like that's what happens in Sandman. There's the Egyptian gods, there's the Norse gods,
Right.
and there is the one true God of the Old Testament and the New Testament that exists out there somewhere. But I like the idea of this. I mean, I like the idea that all of these cosmic races are somehow combined, and Earth, it's mankind's spirit, our spark, our sense of honor and whatever that makes us unique, and that's why people keep coming to Earth and giving us a hard time.
That's
because
right.
we represent something that doesn't exist anywhere else in the universe.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice that puts humanity at the forefront of this. But in the meantime, it doesn't bother me that the Atlanteans and the Amazonians or the Greek gods, if it's all the High Father or whatever, the All Father, High Father, that he was from New Genesis. Why not? I mean, Ridley Scott played with that idea with the engineers and
Right.
in Alien Prometheus. I think that's a great idea that Earth is just part of this much larger. We're just a younger planet, and there's been all this mishigas going on outside the cosmic universe for a long time that we're just now sort of a part of. We've only been around for a couple thousand years.
Yep.
Well, more than 6,000 years, certainly. But you never know. I mean,
I feel the cosmic world will be joining us very soon, not only with Wonder Woman, but Justice League. Let's get into just some human straight up stuff. One of my favorite humans around, one of the world's greatest detective. That's right, Batman. Let's talk about Matt Reeves and him talking about Batman. As the director finishes up his upcoming War for the Planet of the Apes, he mentioned to the Daily News news article, I just was obsessed with Batman when I was a kid. What I find so interesting about him as a character is that as far as a superhero goes, he's not superhuman. He is a person. And he's a tortured soul who's grappling with his past and trying to find a way to be in a world that has a lot that's wrong with it and trying to find a way to reconcile all of that. What do you guys think about Reeves' statements about Batman? Like, I personally think him saying, look, he's a tortured soul is one of those things that I feel like a lot of us, when we first heard about Batman, no matter how old you were or young you were when you first encountered Batman. Like for myself, I first encountered him as Adam West Batman. on TV on a black and white television. I loved Batman as a little kid, but then when I got this collection, I think it was by Ruben Fleischer, of the world's greatest heroes, and that was my first hardcover comic as a little kid, and I read the Batman and how he came to be. It's like a one-pager origin where it's like, wow, he saw his family murdered and then he trained and became the world's greatest detective. It was such an inspiring thing for a little kid to see. I've always wanted to see that explored. I haven't really seen that explored in any of the Batman movies, his detective skills. I mean, you've seen a little bit of it with maybe Michael Keaton, like, analyzing the Joker's toxin in the very first Batman for like 3, 4, or 5 seconds. Right. I want to see the detective. So what are your guys' thoughts?
Mask of the Phantasm, my friend.
That was so good. Yeah, I think too. Also in the video games, you've seen it, but they need to bring more of that to the movies. When you play the Arkham series,
yes, most definitely.
From Rocksteady, also to the new Telltale series is definitely worth playing. It's slower. There's not as much action because it's a Telltale game, just like using a mouse and keyboard. It would be so cool to see more of that those detective skills, like you said, being used, because that's what he is. Like, I love that Ra's al Ghul always call him the detective.
Yes.
That's how he referred to him, as the detective. But you just see him like doing a lot of awesome kicks and punches, which is cool. But I would like to see maybe like a sort, almost like a crime story.
That's right.
Like a True Detective season 1 with Batman.
I want to go to a wide shot for a second. Like when David said, Ra's al Ghul's referred to him as the detective. If you saw all three of us, we were all like, I was like, that's right, son. He's saying the detective.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's how it's like one of those like extra sweaty comic book moments where it's like, that's right, brethren. We're all brothers here. We know what we're talking about, right? So I totally agree with you, Robert.
Well, I come at Batman from a different sort of perspective. I always thought that Batman was a guy who did fight monsters. Because to me, the Rogues Gallery, everything from Clayface to the Joker, they were incarnations of monsters to me. And that Batman put on this suit. He became a bat creature, because he had to be a monster to fight monsters.
Makes sense.
And yet he had to keep his soul pure. That's how I thought of it when I was a kid. And then when Batman was a part of like the Justice League and the Super Friends, and I started reading more and more Batman comics, especially when you get to like Batman and the Outsiders with Jim Aparo doing the art. Batman was kind of goofy, and because of the Batman television series. But I would like to see, I almost see Batman as a, like, I could watch a whole movie as Bruce Wayne. Like I've said before, in Batman v Superman, I like the fact that he has this great sense of honor, that he's going to go out and right wrongs and save people and help the downtrodden, help basically eradicate crime wherever it is. But I would love to see him doing it as, not as necessarily the protector of Gotham, but the protector of the world. And I guess that's what the Justice League does. But I'd like to see him more as a, I don't know. I mean, a detective, yes, but he's not a gumshoe.
Well, I use the word detective very loosely. I just want like him actually using his brain to figure things out. It's like, I personally, like when I started to read Batman, it was I think it was like probably the Carmen Infantino days.
Right.
But then I can't remember exactly the artist, but the run that I started to really get into was, I think it was Doug Monk and Gene Colan. Sorry, and Doug Monk. I don't know how you say his last name. Is it Mensch or Munch? Doug Mensch. And I just remember that those weren't they had some elements of supernatural things in it, but it was like sometimes it was just like an axe murderer. And it was very frightening. And Gene Colan's atmospheric artwork, it was creepy and cool. I mean, to me, I always saw the Joker as just a reflection of Batman, or Penguin as a reflection of Batman. Not like, who created you, who created me? That was the one thing in the Batman movie that kind of bummed me out. It was like, don't merge their origins, keep them separate. That's what's cool about them. You don't need someone to create someone else. It's like just the mere existence of Batman. I mean, I know that's kind of the Joker. I had to be your yin to the yang, but it made it too like merging. Like, yes, and then you're the reason I exist. Well, I'm the reason you exist because you killed my parents. That's what bummed me out. The Joker should never have been involved with the Bat. Anyway, that's a diatribe I could stop talking about. Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I saw David Griffin. You wanted to chime in for a second.
Let's say real quick, there's one more cool story that I love for the Batman. It's a newer one, I guess, in the last 3 or 4 years, but Zack Snyder's, the Court of Owls.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that was all about Batman thinking that he knew Gotham better than anyone?
Scott Snyder.
I said Zack Snyder.
It's all
man.
good. Yeah. Snyder's in DC.
Yeah, sorry, I'm off. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo wrote that great story because it was like he thought he knew Gotham more than anyone. There was a secret organization that had been embedded in Gotham who had more power than his parents, more power than him, that knew more about the city than he did, and he just blew his mind. He couldn't believe it, that he had there was somebody else around him that knew and cared about Gotham more than he did, and that was an interesting story too. There are those great stories in there. I don't know why they don't use more of those outside of the animated universe, to do one of the Batman films. There's so many good stories there.
I'm with you. I loved the Court of Owls storyline, and DC did put it out as an absolute edition, and the artwork in that series is particularly great. But the idea that Batman came up against a conspiracy in his own city was something that, like you just said, blew my mind. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. And it wasn't hard to believe that it was real. With all of the Batman stories and all of the years I've been reading Batman, it was a new take on something, and it made me believe. And I'm like, this is a really interesting, that there's these forces that Batman's so been focused on the micro that he hadn't been focused on the macro about what was happening. It's I'm going to go after these guys individually, but there's something out there in the world that's actually it's literally embedded into Gotham City.
Right.
And I love that. I mean, I'd love to see more of that happen.
I couldn't
Sorry,
agree
Jeremy,
with
I
you
know
more.
what you're gonna
Yeah,
say.
Jeremy.
No, it's all good, but I agree with you. Now I got to talk about Scott Snyder and gush about his Batman.
Snyder?
Scott Snyder.
I believe you meant Zack Snyder.
Excuse me.
But no, his Court of Owls, Night of Owls, Death of the Family, Year One, Endgame, all of that stuff. You read it, and the writing and the art work so in tandem to create the perfect Gotham scenario with detective work. Like he is in there, like with his clues, trying. You really see that he is a great detective. He's just great at deductions, and that is his brain is his strongest suit. It's kind of like that's one thing I actually enjoyed about Iron Man 3 that people hated. It's like I like the fact that he's like, I don't have my suit. I got to use my brain, and I really like that.
All I got is a glove.
Yeah, right. A glove and a nail gun or a watch or whatever, But the Nolan Batmans did incorporate that, when he's shooting the bullets into the bricks, trying to line up the fingerprints. The best we've seen it done is in the Christopher Nolan Batman movies for sure. Small screen, nothing will beat the Batman the Animated Series, which then not Telltale's, but Rocksteady, the Arkham games,
really fun.
springboarded off of. You're like, that's straight up the animated series world. So we've seen it, just not always on the big screen, and however you can experience it because it's out there and it's fantastic.
You know what you guys were talking about reminded me of, like, I thought I would never even say this, but I just recently started watching Gotham and actually enjoying the last season. And because it involves a lot of what we're talking about. It involves detective work. It's Gordon before he's a commissioner. And it's young Bruce Wayne growing and becoming Batman. So that it's got Court of Owls in it. They've got all these different elements from all the comic books. That's kind of it's like a win-win scenario when you're a comic book fan. If you've read all these different kind of comic books, whatever, like say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 or 3 is going to be, if you've read a lot of these comics, it's like, oh, they took this from here and they took that. So it's like a lot of the movies or television series can take the best of what a comic book is and bring that to the story and like highlight certain elements, change other elements. So, I'm looking forward to seeing whatever Matt Reeves is going to do because of what he said about the Batman. Let's move on to the next one. D23 is right around the corner. That's right, Sweaties. If you live in Los Angeles, July 15th, it's going to be a big day for people who are into Star Wars. We got Thor Ragnarok, Star Wars, The Last Jedi, Black Panther, Avengers, Infinity War, and Han Solo, A Star Wars Story. Those are all movies that are just literally coming out this year. Or I'm sorry, except for Black Panther and the Star Wars Story, or Star Wars Han Solo. It's a couple of them, sorry. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out this year. And so what are we going to see at D23? What do you think, David?
Frozen 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
I think we are going to get some kind of Han Solo teaser.
Right.
Even if it's like a little bit, some clips, or maybe just some on-set footage of them on set, or maybe we'll get a shot of the Millennium Falcon or a shot of of Lando. We're gonna get something because we were at Star Wars Celebration. We didn't get any of that at Star Wars Celebration. They have shot. There's footage.
Yeah.
They can put something. Remember Joss Whedon? He put something together for Avengers when they first started shooting the first like 15 days.
Sure.
They put a little footage out. They can put some footage out from Han Solo for sure.
Jeremy?
That's a really funny thing is they have so many expos that cover Star Wars in general and then Marvel in general. I mean, I would hate to be the person like you got to compartmentalize this to that expo, this to that expo, this to that expo. So the ones you rattled off, they're not official. We're just saying what could be there.
Right. They're totally not official.
I always thought that there will probably be, if you see those circle graphs where one kind of bleeds into the other, I think D23 is going to be very it's either going to be Star Wars centric or Marvel centric with a little bit of the other one, and then Comic-Con is going to be very centric on the other spectrum with a little bit of the other one. So it's going to bleed over, but I feel like if they have one for one, one for the other, that'd be the smart way to go about it, rather than being like, here are 10 bits of information or trailers or whatever for these 10 films, movies, shows, whatever we got. And then in Comic-Con, like a week later, you're like, here's the same 10 things you saw. That can't happen.
Right.
So there's going to be a very like, oh, you got some of that here, some of that there. What it's going to be, is it going to be a mix of Marvel and Star Wars? I imagine, but I agree with you. The thing people want to see is like, I want something, a nugget. Just have them walk into the Millennium Falcon and be like, Chewie, I guess this is home.
Our new home.
Yeah, we're going to call this home. Or something with the word home.
There's going to be something Han Solo, because that's the one, if you ask any human being what they want to see, and they're going to be like, Star Wars, I really want to see some Han Solo stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if right now they heard it finally for the last straw, and they're like, all right, let's just get some Han Solo.
All right, how many people at this table would freak out if the only thing that's released is a still of the Millennium Falcon in line with all these other spaceships for the Kessel Run? You're like, what? What? Who knows?
Oh, that's a great idea.
I've always wanted to see the Kessel Run. You know?
Oh, I think that isn't that like they're like, you'll see the Kessel Run.
Somebody said that?
I mean, I don't want to be official or
It's
whatnot,
a
but
6-year period. It's
Yeah.
from 18 years old to 24 years old,
Yeah,
so they could
I'm
definitely
very
do
sure
it.
they
Yeah.
Really?
will see the Kessel Run. Yeah.
All right, I didn't know that. But you know what? I'll chime in and say I really hope to see something from Ant-Man and the Wasp, because that's been pretty much under everybody's radar. That's coming out next year. I'm totally sure we're going to see something for Black Panther. We're going to definitely see some things from Infinity War, but like no one's talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that movie needs some love. What do you think, Robert?
I really want to be like, I didn't say it was official. You're going to see the Kessel Run, John. You need to know. Everyone on the internet needs to know that.
That Jeremy Johns officially said that the Kessel Run shall be seen at D23. It's happening.
It was nice knowing you all.
Hey, Robert Meyer Burnett, what do you
Well,
think?
another thing. Look, I think we might be overthinking this because it's stuff we want to see. But D23, there's a lot of raving Disney fans out there that like to concentrate. I mean, look, Disney's been killing it with their live-action adaptations of their
Jungle
animated. We've got Jungle Book's now coming out. Jon Favreau's doing Lion King.
Yeah.
We're coming on the heels of
Guy
Bill
Ritchie's doing
Condon's-
Aladdin.
Is Guy Ritchie doing
Yeah,
Aladdin?
it's Guy Ritchie. Is he doing Aladdin or is it Lion King? I know he's doing
No,
Aladdin.
no,
No,
Jon
it's
Favreau's
So
doing
it's
Aladdin.
Aladdin.
Then Guy Ritchie's doing Aladdin then.
Well, then, I
Yeah.
mean, they're killing it.
crazy.
I loved Cinderella. I loved Jungle Book. I really love Beauty and the Beast. I mean, I think these films are great, and I think it goes back to the whole Disney Anna thing. There's a whole collector base of people that love everything Disney.
Yeah.
So, Marvel's got Comic-Con.
Right.
And you've got the Star Wars Celebration, which, yes, those all fall under the Disney umbrella, but they all know. I don't think we're going to see as much stuff as we might want to see that we get sweaty about.
You're absolutely 100% right, Robert. I mean, it's very smart to go in there tempered. It's not, D23 is not Comic-Con.
Right.
And D23 is not the Star Wars Celebration, because those are facets of the larger Disney. Disney 23, D23 is literally, you're right, it's all of those cartoons. It's Dumbo. Tim Burton's Dumbo, they're going to have a presentation for that. They're going to have presentations for all of their live action and animated films and Pixar and Star Wars and Marvel. So Marvel and Star Wars are part of this large umbrella of flavor known as Disney.
The most fun I ever had at Comic-Con in Hall H, because I've stopped going to Hall H, it was no fun.
Right.
But when they did Days of Future Past, and then Marvel did their presentation afterwards,
Right.
when Tom Hiddleston came out dressed as Loki, I mean, I was there, and it was so much fun. And and that's when they announced the Age of Ultron, and I was hoping that they would do that. And I was sitting there like I was so sweaty, like literally my whole body was soaked with joy, with sweat of joy.
Yes.
And I don't want that to be taken away from Comic-Con,
Right.
Because there's so much to get sweaty about from Marvel. I think if they're going to ever have a panel that kills it at Comic-Con Hall H, it's going to be this year's panel.
Well, let me say, last year's panel, the Marvel panel, blew me away. We saw the Guardians of the Galaxy, that entire like Baby Groot prison scene with Yondu killing everybody. We saw that at Comic-Con last year. We didn't want to talk too much about like giving away, but there was like a 5-minute scene that they just showed. I mean, there was like so many things. They showed a lot advanced preview clips from Thor Ragnarok, like previs of the Thor and the Hulk jumping and fighting each other, all these cool things. So I was jazzed about last year's Marvel presentation, the Doctor Strange presentation, full 3D craziness. It was madness. Like Cumberbatch just showed out and like a puff of smoke. There's like clouds everywhere. It was craziness. So I'm looking forward to this year. Don't disappoint me, Marvel. Come on. You know what's coming up, guys? Minor Mutations. We're going to talk about this stuff. I'm going to list it off. And the very first subject for Minor Mutations, that's right, Wonder Woman. The TV spot did indeed reveal, look at it closely, kids, Ares for a split microsecond. There's his horn. That's it. That's all you get. Next. Moving on. Next clip. That's right. Looks like Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5 has been dusted. Ridley Scott basically said that's not happening, and he's doing like 25 more Alien Covenant sequels. Really looking forward to this first one. I don't know about the next 24, but I'm in line. Number 3, we've got, check it out, it's Steppenwolf as a Lego figure. No, I didn't put spoilers any on there. It's not a spoiler. It's a Lego figure. Relax. Stop getting all weird about it. It's going to ruin. It's a Lego figure. Relax. We already knew Steppenwolf is in it. He's silver and red. I'll start crying about it. Number 4, Ghost Rider's back, and he's in the finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So a lot of people have dropped off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., maybe not liking the life model decoy elements. Bring back the Firehead is what I say. Number 5, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 absorbs over $101 million internationally. I wanted to say like that Dr. Evil, 101 million. You didn't see it, but I had my pinky to my mouth. Number 6, we've got Avengers is shooting at Harry Potter's castle. Wonder what is going to be all up in that castle's grill. Well, guess what I think? Red Skull's going to be all up in that castle's grill. I think Red Skull is going to play a large part in Avengers Infinity War. Whether or not he's in the beginning, middle, or end, that cosmic cube and that skull are coming back. That's what I thought. What pops off to you guys? Let's start with you.
Harry Potter's castle? Like,
Yeah.
what do they mean, Harry Potter's castle?
It's a location that Harry Potter used, and that's where most people know it from.
Okay, so
Like
it's,
if I
it's
just
a
said
castle.
it's just, yeah.
It's not actually going to be Harry Potter.
Okay,
Like, they're not
yeah,
gonna-
I was like, are they shooting
gonna
at
be
Harry?
Hogwarts.
I
Yeah.
honestly was like, so they're shooting at Harry Potter Land over there at Universal,
Right.
and just like they're gonna wreck props.
It's like some butterbeer there.
Right. It's
Gryffindor
really,
takes on the Avengers for a
really
Quidditch
strange
match.
thing
Come on.
for me. Okay,
A
so
combined shared Potter Marvel universe. You've heard it
I would
first
watch
here.
it. I
you
would
know
watch
what?
it.
What if it's Doctor Doom they're bringing in? I just have to throw that to you because I knew you'd eat that up for
I
a
did,
second.
and you know, no, I ate it up for many seconds because they did say they've been shooting at this castle or a castle-like location for months. And there was a shot of the Russo brothers that the Russos put this on their Instagram, and it was like this castle, this very Latveria look to it. And I remember we talked about this on Heroes about like 5 or 6 months ago. Like whenever they started shooting this thing, it's like they're shooting for like 2 years or whatever. It's like a massive film. But there's this castle sequence, and it was like a lot of us were like, could that be Dr. Doom? We were like,
Right.
no. Fox owns blah, blah, blah. But you're absolutely right. What you're saying is it starts to bring that amazing nugget of goodness possibility closer.
Right. This is like the most hope I've ever had for that being a reality. Because every time you want it, I'm like, Schnepp, it's not happening.
I
And then
know,
like
right?
this time, I'm like, wait, that's like, it's true. It's like either Red Skull or Doctor Doom.
Right.
And Doctor Doom's the one I think when I think super evil comic book guy in a castle.
Can I
And
put
the
up?
two of
Castle
them.
at all. Right.
You know, Doctor Doom calling up Thanos. Being,
Yes.
Hey, bud.
It's very
That's a party.
possible. It's very possible.
As for Neil Blomkamp, I thought that thing was dead in the water like years ago. That's kind of like someone being like, it's official. Hawaii is one of the 50 states of the United States of America. It's like, no kidding. I thought that happened years ago. So I knew that was gone. I'm glad we see a glimpse of Ares. He looks awesome. Because it was all about what design of Ares
Sure.
are they going to do. They're doing a good design for Ares. I love it. So those are the things that pop off to me.
David?
I want to talk about Neil Blomkamp for a little while because I
Sure.
feel like there's not a lot of directors out there making original sci-fi content, you
Right.
know, outside of television. So a guy who went, from District 9 to Elysium, which I thought was actually underrated. I really enjoyed Elysium. Chappie wasn't that great,
Right.
but he's had a couple good films there. Especially District 9 was awesome. Like I don't think anybody saw that coming. And the fact that he had this cool idea, like let's scrap Alien 3, which I don't hate, poor David Fincher there.
Right.
Let's scrap Alien 3, forget that happened. Let's do Sigourney. Let's bring Hicks back in it. He's still alive. He didn't die in the crash like he did in Alien 3. And let's like close out Ripley's story because Sigourney Weaver is still awesome. Let's bring her back in there and tell that story that we didn't get. That would have been cool. But of course, Ridley has a little more pull.
Right.
Got a little bit more pull. He's like, hey, wait, I have some ideas, folks.
Right.
Prometheus made some money. I have a great idea for the Covenant, but I wish they could do both. Do an Alien expanded universe.
Right.
Have the later years with Ripley, have the younger years with the new cast leading into Alien 1. Why can't we do both?
I agree with you.
It's really
Too
hard.
much Alien?
Well, no, I mean it's just too much. I mean with the X-Men movies, we already know every episode is going to be the different continuity. Nothing matters really. You're like, are those characters continuing? Yes, sort of. What happened in the past or even in the future is days of infinite future past. It's always always changing.
True.
Something like Alien 5 would be the film that could kind of ruin what they've got going with Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Now, mark my words, if Alien Covenant is a box office failure, you are going to see Alien 5 and Neil Blomkamp like poof get re-energized quicker than you can say, oh, there's no sequel to Alien Covenant, because I know that they're planning on it, and Ridley's talked about this. Is Alien Covenant is
It's called
the first,
Alien Awakening, I think.
Yeah,
is what
there's
the
the
next one's gonna be
titles,
called.
Paradise. They had all these different titles. There's three. This is the first Alien of another two more aliens that Ridley is going to do. Ridley is like 76, and he's going to do two more aliens.
80.
Is he really?
Is he 80 now?
gonna be 80.
All those guys,
Wow.
Scorsese, Clint Eastwood, they're all about 80 years old now,
That's
aren't
it.
they?
Well,
Upper
Clint's
70s?
like 85.
That's amazing that he's so invested in wanting to tell all these alien stories. It's a win for us because I'm hoping that Alien Covenant is fantastic, and if it is, I definitely want to see him do two more. Neil Blomkamp is an especially talented director, and I agree with you. District 9 is incredible. Elysium had a lot of amazing moments to it, and I think I like his style and way of telling stories, especially his original science fiction stories. I don't want to see him waste his talent, in my opinion, on Alien 5.
True.
When he can do original science fiction stories, and he's so much better at world building and world creating. Now, myself, I didn't like Chappie either, but I give him a pass as far as a director and somebody with creative vision. So anything that Neil Blomkamp is going to do, I'm going to be pretty excited about, and I'm going to see it opening weekend. Even less Alien 5 and more so something original. Robert?
Well, you got to give props to him for putting Ninja and Diantwort and Chappie.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought
Right.
they would ever be in a movie?
No one.
But that was pretty cool. I agree. I think that Neil Blomkamp's script was the ultimate example of fanboy service. I mean, we all grew up loving Alien, and you can't just think stuff up like this and think it's going to happen. You know, and I don't think that his Alien 5 script, it was he had concept art done because wouldn't it be cool if? I don't think it was ever really viable, even though James Cameron did come out and say, oh, I love this idea. And what's he going to say? That he hated his idea?
I think Ridley said that there really wasn't a finished script there. It wasn't,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking forward to Alien Covenant. I just think, look, Alien's a perfect film. It's one of the very few perfect movies ever made. And every time you make another Alien movie, you just diminish the greatness of the first Alien and maybe Aliens. But
yeah.
you know, I'm interested. But now humanity's already aliens have been on Earth.
Right.
Humanity's been discovering. all
Well,
over the
aliens
place.
have not been on Earth, according to we're going from Prometheus and Alien
Well,
Covenant.
John, what about Alien versus Predator?
Alien vs. Predator isn't part of this universe, and neither is the other. No, we're not. That's not part of it. We're not counting it. So let's move on. You know what we're going to count is Twitter questions. You guys, we're live right now, so start tweeting in live Twitter questions right now. These guys are going to pick out a couple of awesome ones. I wanted to, while they're doing that, I want to talk about Creators Corner. I wanted to just let you know this week I want to spotlight somebody who's a filmmaker and an artist. His name is Mike McCarthy. And right now he's got a comic book that he has on Indiegogo called The Angry Rednecks. And he's almost halfway funded right now. Mike is a no-budget genre filmmaker of classics like The Sore Losers. If you haven't heard of him and seen some of his amazing films, check it out. You're on the internet. I like to call it the Sky Brain. Go there, look at it, learn about it. His style is cool and badass no matter whether he's doing a film or he's doing a comic book. You can go and you'll see on the URLs on our page right there. You can see it. It says go to Indiegogo Projects, Angry Rednecks, A Kid Anarchy Adventure. Check it out. Support local creative artists, not locally. He doesn't live here in Los Angeles. I just mean around the world locally. Just create creatives, create them by funding them is what I'm trying to say. Boy, that was a mouthful. Let's move on to Twitter questions. I'm gonna ask a couple of the ones we have right here, and then we're gonna go to live ones. First one off the deck is Derek Spicer. Will a mother box show up in Wonder Woman, perhaps when Hippolyta is showing young Diana the gods many gifts? Well, we talked a little bit about that earlier, and I indeed do think that a mother box will be part of Themyscira's history, and I think that, maybe not totally all of the history, but something is involving the gods perhaps will be there. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't. I'm glad you touched on it earlier. It's almost like you already answered it before the
Right.
question came through. So, Schnepp, if you say it's going to, I say it's going to, but it completely makes sense in also a way to tie this story that otherwise has nothing to do with the current DC cinematic universe. It'll have a nugget that does tie it in.
Robert?
Well, yeah, I mean, we know it's happening.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yes,
indeed.
yes to all.
All right. Good question. Matt Creamer. Love that name. That's right. Matt Creamer of Krispy Kreme ER21. He's in medical emergency. He's going to ask, will Stark ever use the Hulkbuster armor again in the MCU? Infinity War, perhaps? I don't know, but I'm sure the Hot Toys man over here who owns a Hulkbuster armor.
No, not
would-
yet. I've only pre-ordered that goodness. It's not supposed to. Well, it's supposed to come out this month.
Well, would it upset you if there's all of a sudden, after you get this very expensive Hulkbuster, there's the Hulkbuster version 2, which is slightly better?
that would make me very angry.
All right. Well, don't make Robert
No,
angry.
but
You will
I
not
think-
like him when he's angry.
Look, did the Hulkbuster armor work that well? It kind of worked. It was okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
The
But it
Hulk
looked
would've-
great.
It looked great. I think it's awesome. I can't wait to have it on my shelf. I think the Hulk would eventually tear the Hulkbuster armor apart.
Yes.
But I think Tony Stark might need it for somebody else. How are you going to fight Thanos, maybe?
Right?
I don't
In
know.
a giant purple Hulkbuster outfit. Why does it have to be purple? It doesn't. Jeremy?
You know, in terms of the action figure collecting angle of it, is for me, when I order these things, it's all about what fight was better. You know what I mean? Like the Hulkbuster armor, the next time, if it's ever used, which I kind of don't think it will be, but if it's ever used, if that fight isn't as good as the Hulk Iron Man fight, then the Hulk Iron Man Hulkbuster is the one that you get. So
That's
I don't
good.
know.
I like that philosophy. I'm going to adopt that as my personal philosophy.
Do it.
All right, Hulkbusters. Next question is Habanero Tabasco fan asks, could a Lobo film be a cross between Deadpool and Marvel's first Thor? Perhaps a bounty hunter Indiana Jones in space? I love both of those questions. I mean, I think Lobo would be fantastic. I want to see the 4-issue Simon Beasley artwork by Simon Beasley. I want to see that version of Lobo. That's what I always think of. On a cosmic heavy metal,
Right.
motorcycle in outer space with a cigar. It doesn't matter if he's in outer space. The cigar is magically lit. I want to see him kicking ass, and he's a bounty hunter. What are your thoughts?
You know, what's funny is when I heard Momoa was going to be in the DC movies, they're like, oh, he's Aquaman. I was like, no, he's not. He's Lobo.
Yep.
How is he not Lobo? So anyhow, he's Aquaman, but someone like that is going to be Lobo. I love Lobo, dude. He's such a douche.
Yeah.
He's the main man.
Someone should be playing him.
I always like Lobo, seeing him in the Justice League animated series. You know, Bruce Timm. It was he's a great character. It would be cool. Do you think we'll see a Marvel DC crossover?
No.
No.
You mean movie-wise?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Oh,
Robert.
How are you going to top Infinity War, man? My man Kevin Feige, who wouldn't go see Avengers versus Justice League? Come on. Why wouldn't they do that?
They'll never do that.
That would be so great.
That's just way too.
Maybe it's like a way to go out. Maybe this movie's like stop making
That's what I
money.
mean. That's the
like
last
the
one.
last one. That's the last one they
There's
do.
never
You
a
know, it's
last
like the
one.
universe dying, or our sun is going
That's
to
right.
wink out of existence, and,
and
decide
then they'd
we're gonna
still
give
be
it one
fighting
last-
over. Well, we made this much money and the kind of profit margin and stuff. It'll never happen.
So cool.
Next question is Severin Valerie asks, do you think the Teen Titans television series and the Black Lightning TV series as part of the Arrowverse will overcrowd things? Well, the Teen Titans TV series, which was recently announced, which we haven't covered yet, the DC has their own channel now, and they're going to be doing a live action teen. It's just going to be called Titans, I believe. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's called Teen Titans. We've been talking about they should make a movie called Titans for like the last year, ever since they announced Cyborg. It's like, well, then they announced Nightwing. It's like, well, you guys should be making Titans, a Teen Titan film first. Just get rid of the teen thing. Who knows how it's going to be, if it's going to tie in with Arrowverse. You have any thoughts?
I think anything's possible. I mean, especially like if Berlanti's backing all of that. I mean, he crossed Supergirl and Flash over when Supergirl was still at CBS. So I think
Okay.
anything's possible.
And Jeff Johns, did write Titans for a long time,
Right. Yeah.
and he's overseeing the show. I mean, did you guys watch the Judas Contract
The
animated?
movie?
Not yet. I
Not
still need
yet.
to see it.
I watched it, and I have to say, I really liked
Good.
it. I mean, I'm a huge Perez Wolfman Titans fan. It's
Right.
one of my favorite comic series of all time, and I was kind of like skeptical, looking it down my nose at it because it's like the new 52
Sure.
Titans. But it was really good,
Mm-hmm.
for what it was. Somebody said online, well, the animation's kind of wonky. Yes, because they're not spending $150 million to do
Yeah.
it.
Well,
But
hey,
I did like it.
You reminded me. Let's everybody out there. put your heads together and give George Perez get better. He was in the hospital this past weekend having some heart problems. We all love you, George. You're an amazing influencer, creator, and artist. So get better, George Perez. Let's go to some live Twitter questions.
All right,
what do we got?
Here we go. So Rocky Drago 66, which I'm very sure I always hear that name because
That's
this
right.
dude apparently just asks good questions. Will we ever see a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen reboot as a TV show or a movie?
Wow, that's a good question, Drago. I would absolutely love to see Alan Moore's entire League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, all of the books, brought to the television small screen and done the right way. If you haven't checked it out, it's fantastic. What do you think?
I think, definitely put it on TV and give it to FX. Because when FX did it with Legion, I mean, just give it to FX. Just let them do it. It's fine.
Robert?
Or HBO.
Or
I mean, I'd
HBO,
love to see an HBO. You know, after seeing American Gods and seeing how they're tackling that subject matter, I mean, there's some really rough, extreme stuff in that show.
Right.
And if they can do that, then they can pretty much do anything on TV now. So I would love to see an erudite League of Extraordinary Gentlemen series.
All right, Drago, good question. We got one more?
Yeah, we do. Here we go. This is more of a personal one for all of us. This is Chris Woodburn writes, love the show, fellas, and what film brought you to your current fandom? For me, it was The Dark Knight, is what he says. So, loving the age variance here, what was the film that brought you to comic book movie fandom?
Wow, to comic book. Well,
Comic book movie.
As far as a feature film, I would have to say it was Superman, the movie.
Superman the movie?
Yeah,
Nice.
You will believe a man can fly. And I was already a big Superman fan. I would watch the George Reeves cartoon. I was into Super Friends. I was into Batman. I was a sweaty, total, superhero nerd already, into science fiction. Star Wars was the year before. I had, that was me reading Starlog, like hanging out with like the three people I knew who were into science fiction and comic books. So yeah, Superman was that one superhero movie that came out that decade. Unfortunately, you guys have like
It was a different
I don't
time.
know, it's like 9 movies this year. Shut up. Shut up. One movie in a decade. Shut up. David.
I was 5 years old when I saw Batman. It's 89. I'd have been 5. So for me, it would have been Batman. Tim Burton's Batman. That Prince soundtrack, the colors. I mean, Jack as Joker.
Right.
I fell in love. And then 3 years later, we got Batman the animated series. So I was in
Totally.
heaven as a little kid.
That's a good Batman the animated series when you were like 8.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Robert?
Well, I'm with you. It was. I mean, I love the first Batman movie from the '66 animated series because it had the Bat boat in it that they made a corgi
Bat
toy
shark
of.
repellent, bat bombs.
But Superman the movie, I was moving into my teen years, adolescence and teen years, and it was post Star Wars, and I'd already been a diehard science fiction and Star Trek fan as a kid growing up. But Superman was I'd never seen a serious cinematic take on a superhero before.
Sure.
And the first 30 minutes of that movie, all the Smallville stuff is so epic. And when Clark Kent is telling Glenn Ford,
Well, Krypton is first, then Smallville.
well,
But yeah,
right. Krypton's,
Just
I
the
mean,
setup.
the setup, but the whole opening Norman Rockwell Americana, and when he's trying to say, if I got the football, I could get a touchdown every time.
Yeah.
And you can see like his adolescent angst, and Glenn Ford is, I know one thing, it's you were put here for a reason. And you're, as a kid, I was completely affected by this, and not just because it's Superman on the big screen, but the whole plight of that character.
It was such a well-told and well-directed movie. I mean, that's the thing that a lot of people forget. That you could watch the 1978 Superman and have some issues about Gene Hackman's too funny or he's spinning around the world or this and that. But what you're talking about is like the pure story elements were so good. And the acting was so amazingly done. Not jokey, not corny. It was very serious. And it was all about what does it take to be someone with a true heart and a real ideals.
And also, Miss Tessmacher ends up saving the world.
That's right, Miss
By
Tessmacher.
going in,
Miss
Tessmacher! By going in and taking the kryptonite off Superman, she saves the planet. And I just to this day, when she finds out that the other nuke is going to land in Hackensack, New Jersey, and then you hear the pain in her voice when she goes, "But Lex, my mother lives in Hackensack," and Lex,
Not
like,
anymore.
I mean, I was like, "No way!
Now-
You're going to kill your henchwoman's mother?"
Did you feel the same way when in Batman v Superman, Lois Lane jumped in to save him? The same exact scene, like Superman's underwater with kryptonite. I was like, where did they get that? Oh, that's right. Hey, you know what? This week we got the sweaty question of the week, and it's from Casey Boker. Binkler. How's it going, Casey? Can't say your name right. How do you say that? How would you guys say it? Bacher?
I like Chaz Voltaire.
Chaz
Look at that.
Voltaire.
Yeah.
I like it. There's some little sweat marks from Chaz Voltaire, also known as Casey Bronkrisk. I'm fine with the renumbering in Marvel Comics, but how many number ones am I going to have to weed through when I go back? Well, Casey, my sad friend, thousands of number ones. But you know what? The only number one that really matters is the very first issue of the appearance of that said character. Now, it might not be a number one. It might be Marvel Premiere, where perhaps a Werewolf by Night, or our friend Moon Knight. There's a whole bunch of characters.
Detective Comics, right?
Detective Comics or Amazing Fantasy. I believe it was number 15. Was Amazing Spider-Man, or was it 16? I can't remember. But all these comic books usually had like the first appearance of a character. That's what that's what a number one is. All the other number ones are just like story related. So it could be, a number one of Iron Man Extremis. Well, nowadays you can buy the paperback of Iron Man Extremis, and whether or not it's number one or number two. Well, if you're going to read the entire story, you have to figure out, is it a trade paperback, and how many issues is it from number 1 to 6, or number 1 from 12, or number 1 to 24? That's what you have to worry about. So I wouldn't really worry about numbering like 1 or 2, but what are your guys' thoughts, Robert?
Well, this whole renumbering thing, to me, part of the fun of comic books was collecting the numbers.
Yeah.
And every time they go back and reboot, you're like, what? It always felt like a cheat. I always hated that when they end your favorite comic book character and then they bring the character back later on and it's a different incarnation. Why not just keep it going? I've always hated that. I've always just, if you have a good like Action Comics, when it went weekly and then they changed it or whatever, but it just bothers me. Yes, you're going to have to go through a lot of number ones. And look, it's also whatever incarnation of the character. We were younger when we started reading comic books. Now there's been, how many different Green Arrow incarnations have there been? I mean, I love Mike Grell's run on Green Arrow, coming off of John Sable Freelance.
Right.
I like those days, but that's not what he's been for a long time.
Definitely. Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm with you that why reboot it? Wouldn't that be great if years you're like, this is issue 975. How rad is that? Now it's issue 12 or whatever, So, I mean, just keeping the numbers going makes it all the more special. There's only one number of that with that book, and the history of comic books would be a great thing. But it is about the first appearance of this character. Like Edge of Spider-Verse, number 2 is your first appearance of Gwen Stacy. That was just a recent first appearance that became really huge, but it is a number 2 of a comic book. So it's all what you're looking for, but I'd like to see the numbers go into the thousands.
Yeah, I'm with Jeremy on that. I think, too, the number one is just kind of feeding into that whole mob mentality of like, be the first to get there, be the first to see it, be the first. It's like, you don't need to be this. It doesn't add anything. If the story is good, it's a good story. Whether it's issue 57 or issue 1, it's all about the story, the writing, the artwork. It has nothing to do with what number it is, unless you're a collector and you do have one of those high-end, like, original comics.
Well, you know what? As just a fan of Batman or Superman, when they got to issue 400 of Batman, it was like that cool Sienkiewicz cover, or issue, I think it was of Superman number 400, where it had like multiple stories from all these different writers and artists all doing their little take on Superman. Those are the kind of things where you're like, it's not even in continuity. We're like celebrating this character, and that's the kind of thing that you don't get when you just keep renumbering things, and like you get confused people like Casey, who's like, I want to collect stuff, but what is number 1? It's like, what? Like, look, they started renumbering. They put the numbers back for Batman and Superman. Why? Because they're about to hit 1,000 this coming year.
Yeah.
Issue 1,000. You're talking about. It's not years in the future. It's a year in the future.
That's
you're
right.
Gonna get Superman 1,000. You're like, that's right. That's awesome. That's incredible. And you know what's also awesome? Next week on Collider Heroes 108, because we're out of time. Awesome-tacular right over here. Jeremy Jahns, where can people find you online?
Oh, you can find me at Jeremy Jahns on YouTube, Twitter, the rest of the internet. You can find my show Awesome-tacular on Go90. Schnepp and I talk some comic books and comic book movies. We also do a lot of other fun stuff. You should be there. You'd love it. I know it.
Definitely. David Griffin, where can people find you?
As most of you know, hopefully you know, we are doing daily TV talk this week. Every day at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're talking Better Call Saul. We're talking American Gods. We're going to be talking Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, all the shows you love. We're going to talk about the day after they come out. So check out TV Talk every morning. Monday through Friday right here on Collider Video.
Get sweaty on television. Robert Meyer Burnett, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. You can find me on Instagram at RM Burnett. You can find me pounding this man sometime in the future on a Schmodown.
Wow, buy
well,
me dinner
or
first.
you
Yeah,
my
can
friend.
you say that in a different way? That's
Pounding him down like
Okay,
the
there you
Hulk.
go.
Bam, 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 bam.
Got it.
You people. You people. You know, let me just tell you, Mr. Johns. No, and you can find me at Facebook as Robert Meyer Burnett.
That's right. Well, guys, you can find me, Jon Schnepp, just on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Schnepp. Check me out on the History Channel. This week they're showing Superheroes Decoded. I'm one of a bunch of weird sweaties talking about the history of all superheroes. It's a two-parter. They aired it on Sunday and Monday, and they're repeating it all week. I'm just one of them. I'm also the egg creature. Back off. Beware. I'll see you next week.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.